great pleasure to welcome back to the program a good friend of mine and a good friend of the show. It's been too long since we talked to him, so we wanted to have him back. His name is Chris Thatcher. He's an actor and acting teacher, and of course, Marcel should have been such a great acting and theater talent. We want to have him back on again to kind of give an update on what's going on in the world of the profession of acting and maybe some tips on how you can get involved in it. Chris Thatcher joining us by telephone from Boulder, Colorado today. How are you, Chris?
Hey, Doug. How you doing?
Good to talk to you again. It's been a couple of years since we've done this, so you're still out in Colorado, right?
Yes, I am. I have been here a couple of years now. I was in Hollywood before that. We moved out here with my wife and I to have a son out of the smoggy air of L.A., and I'm doing what I did out in L.A., but on a much smaller scale, but equally as enjoyable. And now that I've been here for a few years, my studio's picked up. Classes are full and things are fun. And actually, I don't think I mentioned this to you before, we're actually starting up a theater company too. Out here, another theater company. People complain there's too many in Colorado, but there's certainly plenty in Hollywood. But we're out here, we're going strong, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm here in Sarasota, Chris. As we talked about before, there's a lot of theaters around here, and it's probably similar to where you are in Colorado, and people are always kind of asking, well, how do you get started in the business? And I guess you'll probably ask that all the time. How do you get started? What's the best way to get started in the business?
Well, work begets work. I would always recommend that people who have no experience at all try it out, and you can try it out by auditioning for something. Of course, I wouldn't audition for something very big or significant when you start out, because people have long memories, and if you're not very good, they'll remember that. The safer alternative, of course, is to try an acting class out. But performance really gives you a taste of, what it is to be an actor. And there's a lot of people that want to do television and film. And the best training still is to do stage work. Much more challenging. You don't get a retake. If something goes wrong, you have to keep going. And it really hones your skills, gives you a real feeling of what it's like to take a character from beginning to end, through a whole arc, through a whole experience, through a whole story. Film work especially is shot out of sequence. So, if you have the benefit of some stage work, you will be able to have that character arc in you and instinctively know where you are in the story, even though it's being shot out of order. So I think it behooves everyone to have some stage experience. Then you'll notice that a lot of television and film actors, they're all of a sudden they're showing up on Broadway, and you ask yourself, well, wow, I guess I could become a star and then go to Broadway anytime I wanted to. And I think people need to research those actors a little bit more carefully. A lot of them tend to have theater backgrounds to begin with, but you never hear about that. Because you go on IMDb and all it lists is some of the credits that they've had in film and television, but IMDb doesn't have stage credits.
Particularly if you were a New York actor, you did some stage, hopefully, and then maybe radio, when radio was back then, or live television in the 50s, and then soap operas. That used to be kind of a stepping stone. I don't know if that's still that way. Do you deal with any people that they're training to be on soap operas anymore?
Well, I think it was Ellen Barkin got her start. I think it was her got her start in soap operas. She trained, I believe it was either with Strasberg or Meisner, one of the two, in New York. I think she studied for 10 years. People kept telling her to go out and audition for stuff. And then she trained for 10 years, I believe, and then she auditioned and landed a role on a soap opera. And she said it was sort of the exact opposite of everything she'd been trained in, all this serious method acting. But it really honed her skills, because now she had to apply those really powerful tools from the method to the reality of shooting a soap opera, and the tension between those two, she said, really gave her the skills she needed to then later go on and do some of the work that she did, and she did extraordinary work after that.
It's amazing when you think of what the soap opera actors and actresses have to do, literally memorizing 10 or 15 pages of script a night. Now, maybe now it's not quite as the same because they're not live anymore, but you still have to run a lot in a short amount of time. So your acting skills have to you have to be doing it quick now, so that you don't have 2 or 3 weeks of rehearsal anymore.
Well, it's funny. There's a misnomer. A lot of times when you go for an audition, they give you what's called a cold reading, and that means that they hand you a script, you go look it over, and you come back and you do it for them, either with another actor that's also auditioning or with a reader that's there provided by the people auditioning you. And it's a misnomer. I like to tell my actors there's no such thing as a cold reading, which completely memorized on every cold reading. And if they only give you 5 minutes with the text, I think you should walk away, because all they're going to hear is you reading English. It's very hard to make choices, look at where your beat changes are, know what it is you want. I mean, it's very hard to do that in 5 minutes. You can get somebody off the street to come in and read English, but to have an actor show you what they've got, they need to have a little bit more time with the script. But when you have time with the script, you need to be memorized. And then what you do is you hold the script in your hand, and you act as if you're not memorized. And you can look down every once in a while at the tape, so that they don't think that what they're seeing in the audition is a finished performance. So that's the trick to cold reading. The trick to cold reading is you have to be a very good memorizer in a short amount of time, and you create the impression that you're not memorized, but you are.
Now, Chris Thatcher of the Chris Thatcher Acting Studio. I want to get into that a little bit more, Chris, with so many people down here. There's community theater, there's professional theater, the Oslo, and auditions are going on all the time. That's a great tip right there. What are some other tips for auditioning, and how do you learn to memorize quickly? Can you be trained to do that, or do you have that already?
No, you can absolutely train it as a muscle. In fact, I'm one of the few acting coaches that I start almost every class with a memorization drill. I throw people text, either big chunks of monologue, or I throw them alternating text with 1, 2, 3, or 4 actors, and then I give them 10 minutes or 15 minutes to get completely memorized. They come to the front of the stage, they give me their text, and I want to hear it back, word perfect, and I take their text and I mark every single place they go off. Every little word that they have misspoken or changed or paraphrased, I mark it, and then I give it back to them. And we do this, and we drill it. I call it flash memorization. You have to get it into your brain. And I've got a guy who can do a full page, at least, of a monologue. I would say maybe a two-minute monologue he can do in about 10, 15 minutes. He's completely memorized, flawless. Now, he started out maybe doing a couple of sentences. So it's a muscle that you can build. And there are a couple other memorization tricks and tools, but you just have to do it. For people at home, I'd say get some text, get a kitchen timer, and have a friend test you, or find a way to do it so that you can force yourself to memorize under a time constraint.